Hello and welcome to another free code session. My name is Jason Bach and I'm going to try to finish out excuse me, the initial run of unit tests for inline mapping. As you notice here, I have these integration tests because as I was thinking about this morning, it's amazing. I had a Twitter conversation with somebody a couple days ago about the notion of just walk away from a problem or walk away from something that you're working on, because you go and work out or you take a walk or you do some other work or whatever the case may be. It's funny how if you're not using your brain, and I don't mean start reading a book, although that can be, a diversion. But if your brain isn't working on the problem, you'll sometimes tend to not consciously think about it. I've just noticed your brain starts working better and picking up, things and thinking about the problem that you were working on, and you might start coming, or you'll just start brainstorming new ideas and on and on. And so I was doing something else and I thought, I really should have tests in here that test the actual generated mapping code and that it works the way it's expected to. So what I'm doing here is I'm in a branch for adding the tests, and I have a whole bunch of them mapped out here already. But what I want to do here is essentially, nope, not that. By the way, I figured out the NuGet problem. So there's now a NuGet package out there. I'm not sure how good it is, but that's okay. So I'm going to say integration tests that, except we want to reference that as we are doing in the host. So we want to reference them this way. So this is where you don't necessarily reference the actual generator type, but we're going to create code that uses a generator just to make sure it's working the way we expect it to. Excuse me. All right, so that is all good. And should I start working on that? Yeah, why not? Well, public static class map to, what am I calling the tests? Map to generator. We'll just call them map tests. Okay. And so I really don't care about what the structure of the code looks like with the using statements or anything. All I care about is if you have a public class source that has a public int ID that has a get and set. We have a public class destination where we also have the exact same property. Okay. And then if I say here map to type of destination, that I should be able to come into here and say test and say public static void map. Okay. So we're going to say var source is equal to new source, where the ID is equal to 3. Okay. And we're going to say var destination is equal to source map to dest, even though it's not there, we know it's going to work. So we're going to say assert multiple, just because that's kind of the way I'm trying to roll with this now. Always just do multiple, even if there isn't multiple. Assert that destination dot ID is equal to 3. Okay. And so now if I come down here, we're going to want to hop up a directory and say .NET test and see if this actually does what I think it should be doing. Source does not contain a definition of yeah, well then all the other tests fail in the other one because they're not completed. I just wrote the test. Had it fail, so sometimes I do that. I know I need those tests. I just haven't done them yet. Oh, that's disappointing. Why doesn't that work? It is possible that the command line tools don't do the same thing that you do within Visual Studio. See, that succeeded. Yeah. Now, if I run all the tests in here, they should still fail because we're still looking at that weird, yep, we still have that weird issue that it's not working for whatever reason. So I'm kind of screwed here. I'm going to keep this in because eventually this should work. But we're now caught in two ways. We can't run the tests from Visual Studio Preview version. I don't know why, but we can't. But we can't run them through the tools because they don't seem to understand how generators are really supposed to work. So you're kind of messed up both ways. Oh well. We do need this at some point. So I'm going to just comment this out for right now. I know that's not ideal. You know, that's not really what we want to do. But I don't want to lose that this is here because we're eventually going to need this. But yeah, so now it should just be that all the method and implemented and not implemented, not implemented. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. All right. Well, we tried and we're sort of doing the right thing. In fact, we are doing the right thing. We just can't, we can't actually get that to generate the source, and we can't run the tests. But what can we do? Well, we can finish up the other tests. So if we go to the tests here and I go to that, let's see which ones are. All right, generate with structs. That should be pretty straightforward. And that's correct. So we're going to want to, we have a struct here, we have a struct there, this self. Okay. So this is actually going to something else that I need to address. So we go to the map to generator. I put a to do in here, I think. Yeah. So if we, we're going to want to do this. Okay. And then we say if source type, if it's not is value type, then we're going to say add that. Because we don't need to do add null, argument null exception in that case, and so we can just not add that in there like we do here. Okay, so yeah, so in this case, with it being classes, we definitely want to have, a check in here that says it does contain using system. Okay, but what we don't want in this case is that. Okay, and we should have does not contain that. Okay, we now have that check in there, so we're good. Okay, records we can't do yet, because if we try to do records, it fails. So I'm kind of curious, what happens if I come up here and I say, let's just see if we have any updates. Nope, no updates. Well, we don't have any updates. Okay. Generate when source is in namespace and destination is not in namespace. Okay. So we're going to say namespace, source namespace, because I'm clever. And that's literally the only thing I could think of. Whoops. Okay, so what should happen in this case? We should see now does contain namespace, source namespace. We really don't care about this because that's not what we're testing for anymore. We know what's gonna, well, yeah, we shouldn't see any diagnostics. And so if we don't see any diagnostics, we definitely should see generated code. So I guess, what are we really testing here? We're testing to see that we are actually getting a namespace in there. I already tested this stuff, so I really don't care that that showed up. You know, I'm trying to focus the tests on, you know, if I've already tested that you're generating the right code in this case, then it should, I mean, the namespace shouldn't really matter. There's a part of me that's just tugging on my brain going, you really should keep that in there. But I'm assuming, whatever happens when you assume, but I'm assuming if we get no diagnostics at all, then we should have generated some code. Okay. And I'll be satisfied if we get that. Okay, that's good enough. Because that's saying that if we see that in there, that means, because if you, I've seen this before where I was not doing a generation right because there was an exception or something like that. You only get one tree. In this case, what should really happen is ID equals self ID. That's not in the original code. So that means we did generate the right thing. And I will take that. This isn't sufficient though, because this original code still has that. So yeah, we want to make sure that we're always generating code. And that is enough of a check in these tests for me to go, that's good enough. Okay. Generate when source is not a namespace and destination is in a namespace. Okay. So now what I believe should happen is I should say namespace, destination namespace. We're going to put that in there. Okay. And so we should see using destination namespace. Okay. All right. And generate when destination is in source namespace. And then, you know, we should have destination is not in source namespace. Is this a lot of work? Yes, it is. Should you be writing unit tests? Hell yes. So this is saying, wait, I had to think about this for a second. Yeah, destination is in the namespace. So base namespace. And then if I say here, whoops, namespace, sub namespace, we should not see using base namespace. Okay. We still need to have the namespace, base namespace, sub namespace in there. So we should also see that what we had is this in here. Okay. I think that's what I expect. Generated destination is not norm. So in that case, what we're going to do is we're going to say destination namespace, source namespace, and in this case, we should see that there is a using destination namespace. We should see source namespace, and we should have a mapping. Okay. Yeah. In this code, we have the namespace, destination namespace. I think in this case, and maybe the ones above it, we have to be a little careful here, because if we put it in a namespace here, I think we technically have to do that for that code to compile. I believe. We're going to find out if I'm right or not. Okay. Where are we at with tests? I want to jump up to cd.InlineMapping tests. God, why does it take so long just to go there? .test. And see how many are failing. I should see 6. I think there was one that was also 197. Oh, I must have I'm missing something. Yes, yes. Okay. $10. Well, method operator, blah, blah, blah. It's the ones that actually are. Let's take a look at this one first. No. I just want to copy. Why won't you let me copy? Because I'm an idiot. Right? My God. Thank you. Well, wait a minute. I'm not reading this right, am I? Okay. Yeah, I was looking at the wrong thing. It's just frustrating. Come on. Generate when source property is not null. Oh, come. Really? It's worked before. You know what? I'm just not dealing with this crap. Okay, so it's saying there's 2. Oh, yeah, because yeah. So how do I want to handle this? Nope, it's not that one. No property match found, but there was. This is where not being able to debug is going to be a real pain in the butt. I could put a debugger launch here and then run .NET test and then have it launch in a debugger. Because, you know, whatever works. You know what? Let's just do that. Because let's see if I can break all the things. Yes. Launch there. Okay. So what we have here. I'm going to break you, aren't I? You're thinking way too hard about how to expand that. Yep. Oh, wow. Okay, let's just do that. Let's see if that helped with all the safety. So there's an info, a match for ID and the destination. That's actually, now that I think about this, well, I didn't think about this too much. Internal means that you could see it if you were in the project itself. But if you eventually get, well, I'm thinking a little far ahead here. If I have the map to source and destination, then you're outside of the assembly and you may not be able to see it. How can you tell if you can actually see it or not? If they're in the same assembly, you could. I'm going to have to put that kind of logic in there. Well, for now, if I say that, we don't find any. And so we're going to find a destination. So we are going to see 2. I don't want to change that too, because that's going to have the same problem. Private string. We should see 2 here. I don't really care about the order of them. What I should see though is I should see 1. So here's the thing I'm thinking in my head. The way that the code is implemented right now is that we first look at the destination, and I really got to rewrite this. This is getting to be quite the long method. Is we get the first one here. We say, give me all the destination properties. And then if we say there are some, then we go into this. Okay. If there aren't any, well, then we don't even bother with the destination members, which is correct in that we will get, in this case, it will say we didn't find any because we couldn't. There was no on the destination anyway. So even reporting back all the source ones, if there's 50 of them, it's kind of useless. It's noise because you're not going to be able to map any of them. But if we find just 1, then we could go through 50 and get all sorts of errors. You know, should we be completist is what I'm getting at, which is no matter what, you always report if you cannot map. You go through, you find a destination, we'll go through all the source ones, and if we can't find any for the source ones, we'll report those, and then if we couldn't find any for the destination, we'll report those. I think in my head I'm getting to be, yeah, let's do that. Okay, so right, so if we did find a bunch on destination, but we didn't find any in the source, those are going to be remaining, and then we report informational ones as saying, hey, we couldn't map those. I think that's correct, but I'm going to stop here. I might record one tonight. I've got some errands to run this afternoon with my older son. He's got self-defense, and then we got to get our pictures taken for the bike team, which is fairly nearby. And then I got to pick up a couple of bike things. He needs new brake pads and stuff. So I think what I'm going to do is come back to this tonight and try to finish out the tests, or maybe write a couple more, and get it to the point where I can close out this branch. And I'll still keep the package as release candidate 1. That's what I'm calling it right now. But I'm definitely not going to get to a 1.0 until the source generator feature is complete, is in Visual Studio, and quite honestly should be everywhere. I mean, it should not be something tied to Visual Studio. It really should be something that works in any IDE or command line thing. As we already have seen, .NET Build doesn't work with source generators. At least it doesn't seem to work the way I expect it to. So, in fact, even with that code commented out, if I go up and I say, God, that's so slow, I don't know why it's doing that. .NET Build, there is one console app that it should be building the method for it. Yeah, and there's a whole bunch of sources. It will not. Yep. Generator map to generator failed to generate source. Great. So you know what? I want to copy this, but I can't. Because you hate me for some reason. You just don't like me. Generator. Whatever. I'm going to look that up. I'm going to do it in my own time. So made some progress with the unit tests. That's good. But I want to make more. So I will try to do that either off camera or I'll do another episode later tonight. So thank you all for watching. Leave comments and questions below. See you in the next episode.